Hi, 7th grade. We're moving on to 3.3, Chapter 3, Section 3, which is solving one-step equations. This is something that you did last year in 6th grade, but this year we are going to build upon it and move on to two-step and multi-step equations. So we want to make sure we have a solid understanding of the steps for even basic ones, okay? The first couple things I want to go over is inverse operations. We use inverse operations to get the variable alone, which is the goal of these equations. We want to get the variable all by itself. In inverse operations, they undo each other. When you put them together, they're equal to 0 and they're opposites, okay? So they can also be equal to 1 for multiplying and dividing. The twin rule is whatever you do to one side of the equation, you have to do to the other. You want to keep it balanced, you want to keep it fair. And I have a cute story about that, but I'll tell you when we're back in the classroom. So these are the two things that we're going to be using to solve. And like I said, it should look familiar, right? This is something that you did do in 6th grade, but because we're in 7th grade, our numbers are going to change a little bit. Okay, so for our first example, we've got x equals 34, or x minus 34 equals negative 46. So we're going to be working in this first example with positive and negative numbers because that's a 7th grade skill. I've reminded us of our steps along the side here. So step 1 for me is to divide our sides. I draw a line down the equal sign. That's always the first thing I do. Step 2, we want to get the variable alone. So I find the variable, it's x in this problem. To get it alone, we have to do the inverse operation. Okay, so whatever I do to one side, I'm going to do to the other. Here I see a negative 34, so the opposite is positive 34. So whatever I'm going to see in the problem, I want to undo it by doing the opposite. Twin rule is next. Whatever I do to one side, so I added 34 here, negative 34 plus 34 is 0, so that falls out, and I'm left with just an x on this left side. The twin rule says I need to add 34 on the right side because that's what I did to the left. And I want to keep it fair and balanced. And these are opposite signs. I have a negative and a positive, and when my signs are different, I find the difference. So when I subtract 6 minus 4, I get 2, and 4 minus 3 is 1. So I get 12, and then I check which number was bigger, 34 or 46. 46 is bigger, so the sign of 46 stays with my answer. So my answer to this problem is x equals negative 12. So lastly, that's what's amazing about these math problems, is you can check them. You can check to see if you're right. So the original problem was x minus 34 is equal to negative 46. I think the answer is negative 12 for x, so I'm going to substitute that in. Everything else stays the same. And off to the side, if I add 12 plus 34, because now in my problem, in my check, they're both the same sign, right? So if I borrow $12 and then I borrow 34 more, then I owe even more money, okay? So since the signs are the same, I can add them. And I get 46. 46, negative 46 is equal to negative 46. So that means that I'm right. The correct answer is negative 12. Let's do a couple more. Okay, a couple more. Next up, for example 2, t over negative 45 equals negative 5. So again, we have some positive and negative numbers that we're working with. In this case, the variable is t. And so we want to get that all by itself. In order to get t all by itself, we have to do the inverse operation. We have to do the opposite of what we see. So I see t divided by negative 45. So the opposite is going to be to multiply by negative 45. And negative 45 on the top over negative 45 on the bottom is equal to 1. Those both cancel out. So on the left, I just have a t is equal to. On the right, I need to remember my twin rule. So I'm going to take what I have on the right and multiply that by negative 45. So off to the side, 45 times 5, carry the 2, 225. And a negative, check my sign rule, negative times a negative is a positive. So I get 225 as my answer. So now I check it. 225 divided by negative 45 equals negative 5. That's the problem. T, right? T over negative 45 equals negative 5. So if I check 225 divided by negative 45, will I get negative 5? I just did that math problem right up here. 45 times 5 equals 225, right? So as long as my math is correct, the negative times the negative gives me the positive. And when I divide it out, I do end up with negative 5 is equal to negative 5, which makes my answer correct. Okay? Along with positive and negatives, you're also going to have some fractions and decimals. We're going to do one with a decimal. Step 1, draw a line through the equal sign. Step 2, get your variable alone, inverse operations. Okay, so 0.2x, I don't even see any math. So what happens when there's no sign, when there's no division sign, division line, positive or negative? What kind of math is that? I hope in your head you're thinking multiplication, because that's right, it's multiplication. So in order to undo multiplication, I'm going to divide it. And 0.2 divided by 0.2 is 1x, so it's just 1x all by itself now on the left. And on the right, I have to do whatever I did to the left, right? Twin rule. So I'm going to have to divide 4 by 0.2. So now I have to think about that. 4 divided, that means 4 goes on the inside. 4 is being divided by 0.2 on the outside. Sometimes we like to do these as quick as we can, and when you do decimal problems very quick, you often make a mistake. So I encourage you to show your work on all of these problems. Can't have a decimal on the outside, so we move it one place, and just like the twin rule for equations, there is the similar rule for decimals. If you move it on the outside, you have to move it on the inside. You have to keep it balanced. So instead of 4 divided by 0.2, it's actually 40 divided by 2. And 2 goes into 4 2 times, evenly. And we have a 0 left, so we put a 0 on the top. So our answer is 20 that we get. So now we're going to check it. 0.2x equals 4. We say x is 20, so we plug it in and see what we get. 20 times 0.2, 0, 4, 1 decimal in the problem, 1 decimal in our answer, 4 equals 4. It checks, so x equals 20 is the correct answer. You're going to be doing problems like this for your homework, positives, negatives, decimals. I'm looking to see, I think in no fractions, just, multiplying and dividing. Fractions like this, where you'll have to multiply to get rid of the denominator in there. If you have questions, today is a office hours day, so let me know, and we can work through any problems that come up. You're going to be on page 117 today, and you'll be doing, let's do the odds. So 9 through 19 odd today. Please show all your work and check your answers. Okay, that's why I picked a small number. Okay, please show your check. Thanks, guys.